If you're here at 3 in the morning, there's a good chance fear brought you. Not the obvious fear, not the fear of something specific that's going to happen tomorrow, but that deeper fear, that fear that has no name, that fear that lives deep in your chest and whispers things you don't want to hear. What if you're not enough? What if everything falls apart? What if you're completely alone? That fear, the one that keeps you awake, not because there's a real threat, but because your mind has decided there is. Your mind has decided the future is dangerous, that the present isn't safe, that you need to be on guard, always. And so here you are, at 3 in the morning, with your heart beating a little faster than it should, your breath a little shallower than you'd like, trying to understand why you can't relax, why you can't trust, why you can't simply let go. But what if I told you that this fear that seems so real, so urgent, so necessary, is just your mind refusing to trust, refusing to dance, refusing to believe that life, this mysterious and incomprehensible force, never wanted to hurt you? Let's talk about this, because maybe, just maybe, fear isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is the story you tell about fear. Fear. This word carries so much weight, and for good reason. Because fear shaped our evolution. Fear kept our ancestors alive. Fear made them run from the lion, jump away from the snake, avoid the cliff. Fear was, for millennia, our best friend, our guardian, our built-in alarm system that screamed, "Danger, run, survive." And it worked. We're here because of it. But something changed. At some point in human history, fear stopped being just a response to real dangers. It became something else. It became chronic. It became part of the fabric of our daily existence. It stopped protecting us from lions and started protecting us from shadows. Shadows we created ourselves. Because the human mind is extraordinary. It can imagine futures. It can plan. It can anticipate. And this, too, was an evolutionary advantage, being able to predict winter and prepare, being able to imagine a drought and store water. But the mind doesn't know when to stop. It doesn't know the difference between imagining a possible future and creating a terrifying one. It doesn't know the difference between healthy preparation and paralyzing anxiety. And so, here we are, at 3 in the morning, with no lions in sight, no snakes in the room, no cliffs ahead, but with a racing heart, with a mind firing, with a body in survival mode. Why? Because the mind refuses to trust the dance. Life is a dance. It always has been. A constant movement, a perpetual flow. Things are born, things die, things change. And somewhere deeply buried in each of us, there's a part that knows this, a part that understands this is the natural rhythm of existence. But the mind doesn't like dancing. The mind likes control. The mind likes predictability. The mind likes knowing exactly what's going to happen and when. And when life doesn't offer that, and it never does, the mind panics. And the panic shows up as fear. Fear of change, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, fear that if you don't control everything, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth no one told you. Life was never trying to hurt you. Never. Not once. Life was just dancing. And you were trying to choreograph every step, trying to predict every move, trying to guarantee you'd never stumble, never fall, never get lost. And in that process of trying to control the dance, you stopped dancing. If this is echoing in you, if something here is touching a truth you feel but can't name, leave a comment. Just 3 words. I feel this. Because at 3 in the morning, when fear tightens, it can be comforting to know there are others out there, awake, feeling the same. We're not alone in this. So let's dismantle fear, not by fighting it, but by seeing through it, seeing what it really is, and maybe finally learning to trust the dance. Let's start at the beginning. What is fear, really? At the most basic level, fear is a sensation, a cascade of chemical reactions in the body. Adrenaline, cortisol, racing heart, tense muscles, dilated pupils. All of this is real. All of this is happening. But here's what most people don't realize. These sensations aren't fear. These sensations are just the body preparing for action, to fight or flee. Fear, what you call fear, is the story the mind tells about these sensations. The sensation is neutral. It's just energy. It's just the body saying, something's happening. Pay attention. But the mind takes this energy and weaves a narrative of danger, a narrative of threat, a narrative of something terrible is about to happen. And then you're no longer feeling sensations in the body. You're living a horror story, a story where you're vulnerable, where the future is dark, where everything can collapse at any moment. But what if you could separate the two? What if you could feel the sensations in the body without buying the story the mind is selling? Because here's the secret. The body knows how to handle sensations. The body was made for this. Sensations come, sensations go. Like waves, if you don't interfere, if you don't add story, thought, resistance, they pass. In seconds, in minutes. But when the mind comes in with its stories, when the mind starts projecting catastrophic futures, when the mind starts reliving painful pasts, the sensations become chronic. They settle in. They become part of who you are. And suddenly, you're no longer responding to a threat. You're living in a perpetual state of threat, even when there are no lions, even when there are no snakes, even when there's no real danger. The mind has created a world where everything is dangerous, where every decision could be fatal, where every mistake is irreversible, where every change is a potential catastrophe. And so you become paralyzed. Because how do you move in such a dangerous world? How do you trust a universe that seems to be constantly lurking, waiting to knock you down? You don't trust. You defend yourself. You build walls. You create strategies. You try to control every variable. And when you can't, because you never can, you panic. But look, life isn't lurking. Life isn't waiting to knock you down. Life is just happening, as it always has, as it always will. Trees grow, leaves fall, seasons change, waves break, the sun rises, the sun sets, and at no point is life doing this to hurt you. Life is doing this because this is what life does. It flows, it changes, it moves. And you're part of this. You always have been. You are not separate from the dance. You are the dance. But the mind forgot this. The mind convinced itself that you're an isolated individual trying to survive in a hostile world. And as long as you believe this, as long as you carry this story, fear will remain. Because fear isn't responding to life. Fear is responding to the story of separation, to the story of vulnerability, to the story that you can be destroyed.
But what if you can't? What if, at the deepest level, you're indestructible? What if everything that can be destroyed is just the temporary form you inhabit, but not what you really are? Let's go deeper. Life is movement. This isn't metaphorical. This is literal. From the atomic level to the cosmic, everything is in motion. Nothing is still. Nothing is fixed. Electrons dance around nuclei. Cells are born and die every second. Your heart beats. Your lungs expand and contract. Your blood flows. Planets orbit stars. Galaxies spin. The universe expands. Movement, constant, perpetual, inevitable. And you're in the middle of this, not as an observer, but as a participant, as an integral part of the dance. But the human mind has a peculiar trick. It can imagine stability. It can imagine permanence. It can look at the constant flow of life and create the illusion that some things are fixed. My job is stable. My relationship is forever. My health will last. And there's nothing inherently wrong with these ideas. They can be useful. They can bring temporary comfort. But when you cling to them as absolute truths, when you base your security on them, you're setting a trap for yourself. Because life didn't promise permanence. Life never promised things would stay the same. Life only promised one thing: change. And that's where fear comes in. Not as a response to change itself, but as a response to your refusal to accept change. You want things to stay as they are. You want to hold on to this moment. You want to guarantee that what you love won't disappear, that what you built won't crumble, that who you are won't change. And life keeps dancing, indifferent to your wishes, indifferent to your demands, not out of cruelty, but because the dance can't stop. The dance is what life is. So, what happens? You become the dancer who refuses to dance. You become rigid, you resist. You try to stand still while everything around you moves. And this is exhausting. This is terrifying because you can feel the movement. You can feel change happening around you and through you, but you're fighting it with every fiber of your being. And the more you fight, the stronger the fear gets. Because now you're not just afraid of change, you're afraid of losing the battle. Afraid that no matter how hard you try, you can't stop the dance. And you're right. You can't. But here's the secret. You never needed to stop the dance. You just needed to dance with it. And dancing with life doesn't mean controlling the steps. It doesn't mean knowing what comes next. It doesn't mean having guarantees that you won't stumble, fall, get lost. Dancing with life means moving when life moves. It means surrendering to the rhythm. It means trusting that even when you don't know the next step, the dance does. But the mind doesn't like this. The mind wants a script. The mind wants a manual. The mind wants to know, if I do X, Y will happen. And life has never worked that way, never will. Because life isn't a mathematical equation. Life isn't a project you manage. Life is a mystery you inhabit. And as long as you demand certainty, as long as you demand control, as long as you demand that life behave according to your expectations, you'll live in fear. Because life won't behave. Life will keep being life. Wild, unpredictable, absolutely, devastatingly, beautifully free. So, the question isn't, how do I control life? The question is, how do I surrender to the dance? And that's a completely different question, because it's not seeking solution, it's seeking participation. It's not seeking security, it's seeking presence.
And presence, true presence, is the opposite of fear. Because when you're truly present, when you're truly here, now, in this moment, there's no room for fear. Fear lives in the future. Fear lives in what if. Fear lives in the story the mind tells about what might happen. But the now has no story. The now has no future. The now only has this whatever this is. And usually, when you really look, when you really feel what's happening now, there's no threat. There's just life. Life happening. Life dancing. I know what you might be thinking, but life did hurt me. Bad things happened. I lost people. I lost things. I felt pain. And yes, that's true. And I'm not going to minimize that. I'm not going to say the pain wasn't real. I'm not going to say the loss doesn't matter. But here's what I will say. Life didn't do that to hurt you. Life isn't a conscious entity with an agenda. Life isn't sitting on some cosmic throne deciding who suffers and who prospers. Life didn't choose you for pain because you deserved it, or because you were weak, or because you did something wrong. Life was just being life, moving, changing, doing what it's always done. And you were in the path of that movement. Not because you were a target, but because you're part of the movement. You always have been. Think of a wave in the ocean. The wave rises, the wave falls. The wave breaks on the shore, and when it breaks, it destroys sandcastles. It carries shells back to the sea. It changes the shape of the coast. Is the wave trying to destroy? Trying to hurt? No, the wave is just being a wave. And the ocean isn't cruel. The ocean isn't indifferent. The ocean is just ocean, doing what oceans do. And so is life. Waves come, waves go. Some waves are gentle. Some waves are devastating. But none of them are coming specifically for you with the intention to hurt. They're just coming. And you're here. And sometimes you're touched gently. And sometimes you're dragged under. And sometimes you're completely submerged. And each time you have a choice. Not about whether the wave comes, but about how you receive it. You can fight it. You can resist. You can scream, "Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this?" And the wave won't answer, because the wave doesn't know about you. The wave isn't aware of your history, your struggles, your fears. The wave is just movement, just energy, just life doing what life does. Or you can surrender, not in the sense of giving up, not in the sense of passive resignation, but in the sense of stopping the fight against what is. Stopping demanding life be different from what it is. Stopping insisting you deserve special treatment. Stopping believing you should be exempt from the flow. Because here's the hard and liberating truth. You're not exempt. You never were. And this isn't punishment. This is participation. You're not separate from life, watching from afar, hoping bad things don't happen. You are life. You're the wave and the ocean. You're the movement and what's being moved. And when you finally understand this, when you stop seeing yourself as a victim of the universe and start seeing yourself as an expression of the universe, fear changes. It doesn't completely disappear. Sensations still come. Uncertainty still exists. But the story changes. The narrative changes. Instead of, why is this happening to me? It becomes, what is this showing me? Instead of, how do I stop this? It becomes, how do I move with this? Instead of, when will this end? It becomes, what's being born through this?
And these questions don't come from fear. They come from curiosity, from openness, from a willingness to dance, even especially when you don't know the steps, because life never wanted to hurt you. Life just wanted to include you, to invite you, to move you. And when you stop resisting the invitation, when you stop seeing every change as a threat, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust. Not because you know what comes next, but because you finally understand you don't need to know. Because you finally understand you're being carried by something much bigger than you. Something that was here before you were born and will be here after you leave. Something that never, not once, let you fall. Trust. This word sounds almost naive, doesn't it? In a world that seems chaotic, unpredictable, often cruel, how can you trust? And the answer is, you can't. Not if you're waiting for guarantees. Not if you're waiting for life to prove it's safe before you surrender. Because life will never prove that. Life isn't in the business of proof. Life is in the business of invitations. Radical trust isn't blind. It's not ignorance. It's not pretending bad things don't happen or that pain doesn't exist. Radical trust is a choice to stop resisting what is, a choice to stop demanding that reality conform to your preferences, a choice to finally say yes to life as it is, not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because the alternative, perpetual resistance, is unsustainable. You've tried. You've tried to control. You've tried to predict. You've tried to guarantee nothing bad would happen. And did it work? Did you manage to stop change? Did you manage to avoid pain? Did you manage to make life safe? No, you didn't. No one can, because that's not how it works. But what you did manage was to exhaust yourself. What you did manage was to live in a perpetual state of vigilance. What you did manage was to miss the present, trying to control the future. Radical trust says, I don't know what comes next, and that's okay. Radical trust says, things will change,
and I'll move with them. Radical trust says, I can be hurt, I can lose, I can suffer, and still, I trust there's something bigger carrying me through this. But trust in what? If it's not life proving it's safe, if it's not a guarantee everything will be okay, what are you trusting? You're trusting the flow, the movement, the dance. You're trusting that just as spring follows winter, just as morning follows night, just as the tide always returns, there's a rhythm, a pulse, an underlying intelligence that doesn't need your interference to function. Think about your heart. Do you trust it will beat? Do you spend the day monitoring every beat, making sure it happens? No, you trust. You trust the body knows what to do. Think about your lungs. Do you micromanage every breath? Do you panic about the next inhalation? No, you breathe automatically, naturally, trustingly. Your body already knows how to trust. Your body lives in constant trust. It doesn't question whether blood will circulate, whether cells will regenerate, whether digestion will happen. Only the mind questions. Only the mind doubts. Only the mind demands proof before surrendering. And that's why trust isn't something you achieve with the mind. You can't think your way to trust. You can only practice. You practice letting go a little. You practice not knowing. You practice letting life surprise you, move you, transform you without resisting every step. And at first, it's scary. At first, every time you let go, you feel like you're falling, like you're losing, like you're surrendering to destruction. But then something happens. You realize you're not falling.
You realize there's an intelligence operating through you, an intelligence that brought you this far, that made you survive every loss, every pain, every dark night of the soul. You realize you were never in control. And this is liberating. Because if you were never in control, then you can never fail at controlling. You can only dance or refuse to dance. And when you dance, when you finally allow life to move you, fear doesn't completely disappear, but it changes in nature. It becomes excitement, anticipation, the thrill of not knowing what comes next, but knowing that whatever it is, you can move with it. If you're feeling this, if something in you is starting to loosen, to let go, to consider that maybe, just maybe, you can trust, help me know. Subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but because these videos exist to remind you, especially at 3 a.m., that you don't need all the answers, that you don't need to be in control, that you can trust the dance. And every time you see a notification, it's a reminder. There are others dancing too. You're not alone in this. So here's the question no one asks. If you let go of fear, what remains? Because fear, as uncomfortable as it is, has become familiar. It's become part of how you navigate the world. It's become your compass, your guide, your way of making decisions. Is this safe? Is this dangerous? Will this hurt me? And if you let go of these questions, if you stop living your life through the lens of fear,
how do you know what to do? How do you know where to go? The answer is simple, but not easy. You follow life. You follow what's alive in you. Not what's safe, not what's guaranteed, not what's been approved by the mind as acceptable, but what makes you feel alive. What makes you feel expansive? What makes you feel more you, not less? And this is scary, because what makes you feel alive isn't usually safe, isn't usually predictable, usually doesn't come with guarantees. Love makes you feel alive, but love can break you. Creativity makes you feel alive, but creativity can expose you. Truth makes you feel alive, but truth can isolate you. So the mind says, no, too risky. Stay small, stay safe, stay in control. And so you live a small, safe, controlled life, and fear diminishes. Not because you're actually safe, but because you gave up on living. But what if you don't give up? What if you choose to live, even knowing that living means being vulnerable? Even knowing that living means you'll be touched, moved, transformed? What remains when fear goes isn't absence. It's not emptiness. It's not indifference. What remains is presence. Pure presence. Presence that's not calculating probabilities. Presence that's not measuring risks. Presence that's simply here, totally, completely. And in that presence, something miraculous happens. You start responding to life instead of reacting to fear. You start making choices based on what's true, not what's safe. You start moving in the direction of growth, not in the direction of comfort. You start living as if life were an experiment, not a test you can pass or fail. And yes, things will still go wrong. Yes, you'll still lose. Yes, you'll still suffer. But you won't be suffering alone. You'll be suffering as part of life, as a participant, not a victim. And there's a difference, a huge difference, because when you suffer as a participant, you understand that suffering isn't evidence something's wrong with you or with life. It's just part of the movement, part of the dance. And just as pain comes, it also goes. Just as darkness comes, light also comes.
What remains when fear goes is trust. Not trust that nothing bad will happen, but trust that whatever happens, you can move with it. What remains is openness. Openness to what life brings. Openness to being surprised. Openness to not knowing. What remains is love. Not sentimental love, but love as a willingness to be touched. Love as a willingness to be changed. Love as a willingness to say yes, even when you don't understand. And maybe most important, what remains is you, the real you. Not the you that's constantly on guard. Not the you that's trying to survive, but the you that's alive, that's present, that's dancing. Because you were always a dancer. You were always part of the movement. You just forgot for a while. You thought you needed to stay rigid to stay safe. But rigidity isn't safety. Rigidity is prison. And when you finally let go,
When you finally allow your feet to move, your arms to open, your heart to expand, you realize the dance wasn't waiting for you to be ready. The dance was just waiting for you to stop resisting. If you're listening to this now, at 3 in the morning, or maybe later, or maybe earlier, I want you to know something. The fear you feel, it's not your enemy. It never was. Fear is just the mind trying to protect you from the one thing you don't need protection from: life. And life was never against you. Life was just dancing and inviting you to dance along. And yes, dancing means you'll stumble. It means you'll fall. It means you'll get lost in the movement sometimes. But it also means you'll feel, that you'll live, that you'll touch and be touched by this mysterious and indescribable force we call existence. So, next time fear comes, and it will come, don't fight it. Don't try to eliminate it. Just look at it. See it for what it is: a sensation, a story, a temporary refusal to trust. And then breathe and ask yourself, can I let go just a little? Can I trust just a little? Can I dance just one step? And if the answer is yes, even a small yes, even a hesitant yes, take that step. Move with life. See what happens when you stop resisting. Because life is waiting, not with impatience, not with judgment, but with the perpetual invitation of a dance that never ends. And you were always a dancer. You just forgot. But that's okay, because at 3 in the morning, when everything is quiet, when all distractions disappear, you can remember. You can feel the rhythm. You can hear the music. You can allow your feet finally to move. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for considering that maybe, just maybe, you can trust the dance. And if this resonated, if something here touched you in a way words can't completely describe, share this. Send it to someone you know is awake at 3 in the morning, someone who's struggling, someone who needs to hear it's okay to let go. Because we're doing this together. Each of us in our dark rooms, in our silent early mornings, learning to trust, learning to dance. And maybe that's all we need, to know we're not alone, and that the dance was waiting for us all along. See you at 3 in the morning.